He's doing the weird pheromone thing again. Is this what omegas do when they start emitting their scent? Hello, and welcome to Mushroom Oasis. This is a Yandere dating sim in which you get lost in the forest after looking for your cat and encounter a strange monster man named Mychael. He seems really nice at first, but there's just one problem. Mychael won't let you leave. Let's get started. What's your name? Yinny. What's your cat's name? Puddles. Wait, why is it asking for my cat's name? And your cat is? Fat. Female. Puddles has been missing for a while now. No! No, not Pud Pud. What the hell? She was an indoor cat that had the tenacity of a wild cat on a mission trying to leave whenever the door was open. Alright, well now I know that is not my Pud Pud because my Pud Pud doesn't even move. Look at her, she's like a fat lump. Cat ears and playtime just wasn't enough for the little missus. I figured she'd come running if I left out some food by the porch. 3 days later, still no cat. I've tried everything I could think of, asking around the neighborhood, putting up missing cat posters. Sadly, nothing came from my efforts. I couldn't search for her during the day since I had work keeping me occupied, and there's only so many hours in an evening I could yell around the streets looking for her. There was only one place left I could think of that she might have ran off to, the woods by my house, right across the street. I definitely caught her eyeing the birds and squirrels that ran alongside the perimeters from the front window, her teeth clicking in excitement. I was no outdoorsy person by any means. In fact, the thought of going in there scares me, but I had to find her. Or at least try. The first weekend that came around, I packed up some water, Puddles' favorite treats, and a compass to be safe. I wasn't sure whether to begin looking for her, so I started walking in a straight line, calling out her name every few steps. It certainly didn't take long for me to realize I was way in over my head. Why did I think this was a good idea? It was hard to find my bearings with the surrounding trees. I didn't want to admit I was lost, at least not yet. I could only squint down at my compass as the needle spun slowly. Pretty sure they weren't made to do that. Did I really bring a busted compass on my first venture out into the woods? Figured that would be just my luck. The only thing risking my own safety was my own incompetence. I shook my head hastily. No time for negativity. Puddles was out there somewhere. Cold, lost, and hungry. She's always hungry though. Have you seen her? Look at her. Let me hold your tail. I had to keep going. It's been hours. I'm so lost. I didn't even know why I keep searching even after the moment I realized that. Why did I think this was a good idea? Hunger had been gnawing at my stomach for a while now, having missed breakfast and lunch altogether. The heat and humidity from the afternoon sun was unbearable, but the cooling air did nothing to soothe me. Even if I were to head home, I couldn't even pinpoint where that was. What do people even do in this situation? I knew it was baseless optimism, but walking towards was really the only thing I could think of to do. Surely I'll come across something familiar. I trudged on, my shoes carefully avoiding the tree roots intertwined on the forest floor. But in my weakened state, plus the approaching darkness, I found myself stumbling through the rough terrain. My feet hit something soft jutting out of the ground. Oh! My hands shot out as I lost my balance. My feet clumsily tried to find purchase as I wobbled backwards, arms flapping. Poof! What? My shoe had landed smack dab in a circle of mushrooms, the brunt of it causing a wispy cloud to erupt from the cluster. Oh no. That cannot be good. I stuck my nose in my elbow to avoid breathing it in. I couldn't differentiate one tree leaf from another for the life of me, but I'm pretty sure humans aren't supposed to inhale whatever the hell this was. It smelled strongly of rotten wood and wet dirt even as it cleared. Something shiny quickly caught my attention. I stooped down to pick it up, gasping under my breath. It was Puddles' collar. No! Oh, I shouldn't have named it Puddles. I should have named it like Bumhead or something. Not my poor cat. My poor soft sweet cat. I'm covered in whatever the hell those mushrooms released. I looked around desperately for any signs of her. Puddles? Puddles! I coughed from inhaling some of the remaining dust floating in the air. I should really steer clear from this. Pocketing Puddles' collar, I retreated carefully until I could breathe again. Stepping back, I could still smell it. It must have stuck to my hair and clothes. A quick once-over confirmed my suspicions with a slight cringe. A thin yet generous coating of it covered my sleeves and jeans. I leaned against a tree, dusting off my clothes in a naive attempt to get the dust and smell out to no avail. If anything, it felt like I was breathing more of it in. What used to be musty now turned sweet, and I found myself inhaling even deeper trying to pinpoint the smell. Bad idea! Very bad idea! Cucumbers. It smelled like fresh cucumbers. A tingly feeling crept up my hands and neck, pinpricks spreading across my limbs as a strange heat reached my face. Oh no, am I aroused? I started to feel drunk and wheezy. My senses were numb. It should freak me out. And yet, a strange comfort washed over me. I should lie down. Right now, in fact. My legs gave out from underneath me, Me, my body toppling over at an awkward angle. Why is me, my, and I like highlighted in purple? I laid there and stared and stared and stared. It was nice here. A peaceful calm. The perfect place for a nap even. My eyes grew heavy as I swam in and out of consciousness. Yeah, a nap sounds really good right now. This is a bad idea. This is a bad idea, Yinny. Get the hell up. Get up now. Oh, lots of critters passing through lately. I'm sorry this happened to you, little one. It could have been anyone. But it had to be you. Wait, a human? How'd you end up all the way out here? Still breathing too. Oh, jeez. I can't leave you here. What should I do? I woke with a jolt. It was warm, but comfortably so. I could feel the weight of a blanket on me as I tried to sit up. I couldn't move my body. My fingers twitched uselessly at my sides as my eyes darted around in a panic. Glancing about, I could see the interior of a cabin, or at least the ceiling of one. I couldn't see much past the corner of my eyes. Where was I? How did I get here? A desperate feeling rose in my chest. I had to leave. Right now. This was wrong. 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 I wasn't meant to be here. I could hear the crackling of a fire nearby. Likely the source of warmth I had felt on waking up. I could also hear footsteps approaching. Pretend to be asleep? Stay awake? Let's stay awake. Oh. Hello. Oh, he's so cute. Look at this little mushroom person. I fluttered my eyelids, straining to look at the person approaching. My eyes widened as I took in their appearance. The protrusions from their forehead catching my attention. Not to mention the green skin. The stranger didn't sense my unease as I heaved a sigh of relief. You're awake. That's good. Very, very good. How are you feeling? I blinked. Oh, sorry. I almost forgot about that. Here, the person held a cup to my lips. A strong, sweet smell coming from the rim. A gentle hand grabbed my chin to open my mouth. I couldn't even move to resist. Don't worry. It'll help you feel better. I promise. Drink up. As the liquid hit my tongue, all I could feel was a vague sense of heat. As I kept drinking, taste and texture returned. The sweetness of berries and chamomile coating my taste buds. I could even detect a hint of mint. You know what? I've never been the same since I found out that some people pronounce chamomile as chamomile. I lifted my head finally, hands fisting at my sides as I propped myself onto my elbows. The person kept a steady hand on my chin, careful not to pour in too much in case I choked. I finished every last drop, wiping my mouth with the back of my hand. There is a joke to be made here about choking on someone's mushroom. I stared at my fingers, realizing I had full autonomy over my body again. Good as new. Now, how you feeling? Better. Thank you. The stranger laughed. Oh, I like the way you sound. Been ages since I talked to anyone, much less with a voice as nice as yours. I brushed off their strange compliment. Finally, looking around the cabin properly, it was a simple room filled with sparse but decorated wooden furniture, fit for someone living alone. An open archway to the right led to what I assumed was the kitchen. Next to it, a door was closed shut, possibly the bathroom. Taking it in, there was a common theme of knitted decorations strewn about. Any available surface had patterned knit tablecloths covering it. An unfinished project laid beside the bedside table where I sat. A pair of knitting needles jutting out from a pile of yarn from a small basket. As far as I could tell, it looked like the beginnings of a green scarf. The stranger was comfortable in staying silent, observing me as I glanced around. They tossed their hat into the bed, scruffing their hair and making it even messier. With their hat off, their unique features were impossible to ignore. Sorry, but what are you? It kinda reminds me of a Minecraft mushroom cow. It's very cute. Oh, I didn't introduce myself, did I? Hiya, I'm Mychael with a Y. With a Y because like mycelium? For mushrooms? I shook my head. No, I meant that, Mychael stared at me, their left ear twitching. You look very... He snorted. Ugly. Off-putting. No, just... different. Different, huh? You just being nice? Well, explain yourself. I mean, it's kind of rude, isn't it? I paused for a moment before pinching my nose bridge, exhaling slowly. I'm just... sorry. It's been a long day is all. I should be thanking you. If it helps, it's a... skin condition? Is that what you humans call them? The way they said it didn't sound confident. And the ears? Genetics? Right. And I assume the little... I waved vaguely at their horns. Antennae? Those things are just cosplay to complete the look? Would that make a convincing argument? I squinted. Maybe. Then yeah, it's cosplay. Still doesn't explain everything. Mychael huffed a nervous laugh. Listen. What is going on? Listen, I'm just a guy living by himself in the woods. You don't need to worry yourself further than that, okay? Something in his tone compelled you not to question his existence anymore. He's just some guy, living in the woods. Completely normal. No way! Right. Completely normal. I'm Yinny. Mychael beamed. Nice to meet you, Yinny. I fiddled with the blankets as Mychael was scooted closer from the edge of the bed. I know I already asked, but how are you feeling? Any aches, sores, nausea, intrusive thoughts, weird impulses? A fever, maybe? I don't. He placed his hand on my forehead before I could react. His hands were calloused, quickly retracting as he gave a thoughtful hum. You seem to be lucid. That's a good sign. Great? He hummed absently. His twitching ear reminded me of a perturbed cat. My cat! Oh, shoot! Sorry if this is out of nowhere, but have you seen a cat around these parts? Her name is Puddles. She's a sweet little thing, about this big. Skittish, but she can approach strangers if she needs to. I pulled out my phone to show pictures of her, only to find her missing from my back pocket. Wait, where's... I haven't. Your cat. I haven't seen it. Oh, I see. I slumped against the pillows, rubbing at my temples. She lost her collar, too. Even if anyone finds her, they wouldn't be able to tell where she's from. Damn it. Mychael stayed quiet, watching me from the side of the bed. You came all the way out here for a cat. Huh? Of course. To the point where you're willing to run yourself ragged this deep in the forest for a cat. Do you realize how far you wandered away from the nearest town? I found you near unconscious. In an area nobody set foot in for years. For a cat. He sounded like he was holding himself back from giving me a stern lecture. As if in disbelief I had such little regard to my own survival. But it's Puddle, she's my little best friend. Look at her. Look at her, I say as she has continued to do nothing. My cheeks grew heated at how stupidly reckless that sounded. I mean, she's not just a cat. She's my family. I know I was stupid for even trying, but I had to. Mychael eased up, shoulders tense as he looked at me from underneath his unruly bangs. Family. He finally tipped his head at me with a smile. You're willing to wander this far for such a small critter. I met my fair share of lost campers, hunters, and a few runaway teens or two. For someone looking for their pet. You're kinda weird, aren't you? I sputtered, much to his amusement. Speak for yourself. Who cosplays in the middle of the woods? Mychael laughed, a deep, hearty one resonating from his chest. I think I'm starting to like you, Yinny. Likewise? His smile widened, but something about it was off. He was showing too much teeth. It felt like he hadn't talked to someone in a real long time and forgot how to smile the right amount. I rubbed my neck, trying to think of something else to say. Can I ask? How did I get here? Oh, like I said, I found you in the woods not far from here. Oh, jeez. Really? I knew I was tired, but I couldn't have possibly... I did step in something. Something important. Familiar pinpricks crept on my skin. I need to go home. Mychael stiffened as he grabbed my shoulder. Never mind that. Why not? You'd fallen unconscious from, heat stroke. Heat stroke? No, that wasn't what happened. I was fine up until... Mychael shook his head insistently, leaning close. No, Firefly. You weren't fine at all. If I hadn't found you when I did, well, who knows what could have happened. You could have gotten injured or attacked by a wild animal. There's danger in these woods, you know. No, he was right. You've been so foolish. How did you think you could do this on your own? Yes, I am foolish. How did I think I could do this on my own? Searching for your cat in the middle of the woods. And to go in without bringing any water. Passing out from heat stroke of all things. How could you have been so stupid? I shook my head, brain too foggy to pick apart my thoughts. He sounded confident, so why should you doubt him? Well, if it means anything, I'm glad you were there. Mychael relaxed, hand on his lap once more. He grinned at me. So am I, Yinny. I'm definitely glad I found you. Uh-huh. His eyes were hidden fully behind his unruly hair, but I couldn't help feeling how intensely they were fixated onto me as he said that. The hairs on the back of my neck stood. Sure, without distraction. I only just realized how uncomfortable I was sitting still. The blanket on me was starting to itch, just as a desperate need to get home began to rise in me again. This was interesting, but I should really get going now. Wait, my host jumped up from the bed before I could. I mean, you can't. I can't just let you wander around in the woods this late. Please, stay a bit longer. But Mychael, I really need to... Come. He grabbed my hand and led me across the room. We stepped into the kitchen. A fragrant smell of cooked potatoes and meat hanging in the air. 2 plates had been set out on a small circular table, complete with utensils and mugs of tea. I wasn't expecting guests today, so the food is nothing fancy. But join me for dinner. He looks so hopeful, his ears drooping. He's doing the weird pheromone thing again. Is this what omegas do when they start emitting their scent? You'd feel so bad if you had to say no. Say no. I ignored the pleading voice in the back of my head, stealing my resolve. Strangely enough, the second I made up my mind, the faint static that fogged my thoughts cleared instantly, only replaced with the urgent need to go back home. Mychael goes quiet, his grip on my hand tightening before he loosens his hold. I see. If that's what you want. But are you really sure? Yes, it's what I'm meant to do. His ears flattened at my words. Oh, I'm in trouble. He laughs an empty laugh, mouth twisting into a crooked grimace. Surely you wouldn't mind sitting down for a quick meal. I love the music change. Just a bite even. Please. His hand fisted at his sides. Do you really have to go? Yes. Mychael stared at me as if looking for something. Finally, he sighed in defeat. Alright, I guess I can't keep you here. Not anymore. Let me lead you outside. Oh god, the sound scared me. Mychael ushered me towards the back door, swinging it open as he sidestepped to let me out. The chill breeze crept along my arms. I turned towards him one last time. Thanks again for everything. He was silent for a moment, staring past me into the trees. You're welcome. Be careful on your way back. I'm sorry there's not much more I could do for you. He's been nothing but gracious. No, he hasn't. It's strange for a farewell. But I was too occupied with the thoughts of returning home to care. I looked over to the woods, a shadow cast from the moonlight causing some hesitation in me. Do you mind giving me some directions as a head start? Mychael looked at me finally, then to the horizon with a tilt of his chin. Keep heading in that direction. You'll come across a trail that'll lead you straight home. I waved at him as he shut the door, the mechanism locking shut with a click. I stood there for a moment, questioning if I had made the right decision or not. Another urgent thought compelled me to leave. This is no place for me. I have to go. It was already too late to go back, so I gathered my resolve and walked away. I walked and walked. Trees blended into one another after a while. I should have been afraid or concerned, but it felt right. The darkness that surrounded me was too comforting for me to feel in danger. I steered away from the direction Mychael showed me ages ago, my feet willingly carrying my body to someplace specific. Someplace special. A final destination. Here. The patch of mushrooms I stepped in earlier. Please don't tell me we are gonna do some kind of cordyceps like death. I was meant to be here. I've always meant to be here. No? You get your shit together right now. I laid down in the cold, wet dirt. Oh, god damn it. And closed my eyes. Mychael, there's not much I could do if the forest had staked its claim on you, Firefly. I wish I found you sooner. Sleep well. Yinny, anyone. Peaceful slumber. Oh, god damn it. Wait, that's so sad, because this little patch is puddles. Wow, just as round as in death as you are in life, Pud-Pud. Okay, Pud-Pud, I never let anything happen to you. Alright, fine, we'll stay for dinner. Say yes. Mychael's jaw dropped for a second before he quickly recovered. Yeah, of course. Here, come sit. I'll serve up the cottage pie in a minute. Ooh, I like cottage pie. I sat as instructed, my stomach rumbling something fierce as the smell was the only thing I could focus on. Yes, this was definitely the right choice. What was so important that you had to leave so soon anyway? I don't know, home? My cat? The outside world can wait. That is true though, I do barely go outside. You could stay here. Maybe. And enjoy my company. Oh, actually, I should ask, are you okay with meat for dinner? I could make something else for you if that's not your preference. I'm okay with that. Oh, okay, you'll be having the same dinner as me then. Mychael pattered about the small kitchen with an almost giddy excitement. He put on a pair of knitted oven mitts, humming as he stooped down and pulled out a steaming tray of pie from the wooden stove. The smell! It filled out the kitchen in an instant as he brought it to the table, my stomach rumbling louder in response. I'm pretty sure Mychael could hear it, but he just smiled as he served up our portions. He discreetly cut me a bigger piece, which I was grateful for. It looks so good. It does actually look pretty good. The crust was a nice golden color, streaked with crisp lines and garnish. The meat and veggie filling looked absolutely delectable, the savory sauce leaking onto the plate. My mouth was watering, unsurprising considering the fact that I hadn't eaten all day. Careful now, it's still hot. It was fair advice, but I didn't want to wait more than 2 blows before biting into my first forkful. Didn't want to wait more than 2 what? It was definitely way too hot to eat straight from the oven. Mychael kept a polite expression, the corner of his mouth lifted as I panted with the piece still in my mouth. He gave me a few seconds to recover, elbow planted on the table. Is it good? I nodded vigorously, even though my buds were burning. I couldn't taste anything. He laughed. It's usually better on the second bite. I slowed down, hand on my mouth as Mychael poked his fork into his own slice. I tentatively blew on the pie to make sure it was cool before taking another bite. He was right. The second bite was a lot better. The seasoned potato crust was nice and crisp on top, cheesy and creamy in the middle. The savory meat filling was well cooked and bursting with flavor. Every bite felt like home. My host watched me enjoy the meal from across the table. Do you like it? Yeah, this tastes amazing, Mychael. He flushed from the compliment, rubbing out the back of his neck. I'm glad. I like to think of myself as a decent cook, but I've never been able to get anyone's opinion like that. Do you like baking in particular? Not always. I usually go for simple dishes with any ingredients available. I nodded amicably, though I couldn't say much else. I was more focused on scarfing down dinner, which thankfully Mychael didn't seem to mind. The overall atmosphere was nice and homely. I could hear Mychael tapping his feet from underneath the table. I guess he was happy to have someone stay for dinner. It did seem like he lived alone, judging from the surroundings in his cabin. So, I'm kinda curious. He perked up instantly, his focus solely on me. What made you want to live all the way out here? Oh, well, when you look like me, it's kinda easier just to live out of sight from everyone else. A pang of guilt shot through my chest. I was giving him a hard time about how he looked too. He must have sensed it clear as day on my face. Not that you're one of them. You've actually been nicer than most. Though I wonder if... His smile turned strained. Never mind. My point is it's better here than anywhere else. Why don't you try the tea, Firefly? He seemed uncomfortable now, easing into a different topic. It's probably best to follow along. Oh, sure. I reached out towards my mug, only to push it off the edge with my clumsy fingers. Wait! I bent over the side to grab it, fully expecting it to just fall out of reach and land on the floor in broken pieces. It never did. Instead, a long green appendage was twisted around the ceramic mug, securely keeping it in place, not even a drop had fallen out. Aww. I know the music is dreadful and scary, but I think his tail is very cute. My eyes trailed along the length of it, until I pinpointed that it came from behind Mychael, the rest of it partially hidden beneath his cardigan. Mychael? Is that yours? Do you have something else as well that has another different kind of mushroom tip, or am I just, hehe? Mychael buried his face in his hands, the strange appendage from before lowering to his side, mug in tow. I'm sorry, Yinny, I think it's time I was honest. He lifted his head, fingers carding his hair back to reveal his eyes. Aw, they're so cute. Don't worry, Mychael, I happen to like monsters. I froze as multiple pairs of irises stared back into mine before darting to the side and avoiding my gaze. I know it's a lot to take in, but this is who I really am. Please don't be scared. Okay, we'll remain calm first until the end of the first day, and then we'll come back and freak out. I swallowed audibly, willing myself to not look away. He seemed to be holding his breath as I gripped the edge of the table. It felt unsettling every time he blinked those eyes in succession, even when he wasn't looking at me. Was it real? It had to be. Everything about him suddenly made so much more sense. The isolation, the avoidant behavior. He looked freaky, yes, but he also looked sad. I swallowed thickly. I'm not scared. Mychael's many pupils blew wide, dilating like an excited wildcat. It sent a shiver up my spine. Okay, maybe just a little scared. Sorry. He hastily grabbed an empty plate and hid behind it, shoulders scrunched up despite his stature. Would it help if I just hide it? I could fix my hair like before if that's what you prefer. His voice was muffled behind the ceramic barrier between us. It was kind of endearing. I slowly reached out to touch his hand, the slight brush on my fingertips making him jump in place. Mychael? Yeah? Can you put that down? He slowly lowered the plate. His eyes were still darted to the side, avoiding me. Can you look at me? Don't look at me like that. Sorry, I can't stop looking. This is so awkward. Yeah, why am I staring? His hands were shaking. I looked at the mug still floating next to him, hanging on for dear life. I reached over and plucked it straight out of his grasp. I tentatively took a sip, noticing how Mychael was watching me over the rim of the mug. The taste was mildly spicy, with an almost earthy bite to it. His tail? Oh, the tea! I recognized it instantly as ginger tea. It's almost room temperature, but it's still pretty good. You wanted me to try the tea, right? I like it, so thank you. Oh, I'm glad. Mychael relaxed back into his seat, following my lead as I picked up my fork once more. The silence didn't last long as he fidgeted. Are you really okay with this? With me? I gave him a once-over, really taking in his features. Honestly, Mychael, you are fine as long as you have a good heart. It's very different than what I'm used to, but I think I can learn to like it. Is that weird to say? I mean, you're not bad to look at. You're actually rather kind of cute. It's actually kind of, Damn it, what do I say? Hot? Hot? You're not referring to temperature, are you? No, I'm not. Oh. He looked confused but seemed embarrassed anyway. My point is, your appearance shouldn't matter. You've been nothing but kind to me so far. I'd be the worst kind of person to judge someone based on how they look. I haven't known you that long, but you seem like a good person. You're fine, Mychael. I smiled at him. We're fine. I see. He fidgeted some more before nodding, smiling a bit. Thanks, Yinny. I'll cherish this moment forever. Maybe not forever. He beamed at me as he enthusiastically went back to eating his food. That was something. We continued with a bit of small talk, mostly stories about puddles or snippets from my personal life. Mychael hung on to every word I said, not bothering to elaborate much about himself, despite my burning curiosity. I could tell he was extremely insecure about his appearance, so it's probably best I kept my questions to myself for tonight. We cleared up the kitchen in relative silence, Michael strongly storing away the rest of the pie as I washed the dishes by the sink. Being out here in this remote cabin, I wondered how he had running water. Maybe I'll ask him later. So, thanks for dinner. Thanks for the company. Oh, and please, take the bed tonight. But I mean, we could just share. You can show me what that tail does. You're my guest and I'm the host. Take the bed, okay? Alright. I'll be out of your hair first thing in the morning. Mychael got quiet, staring at the floorboards. With his hair out of the way, I could finally read his expressions. He did seem upset. Is that okay? I do need your help though. I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna get lost again on my own. His tail flickered behind him. Yeah, I'll bring you home tomorrow morning. Whoa, I heaved a sigh of relief. Thanks, Mychael. I'll see you in the morning. Yeah, good night. Good night, Mychael. You seem really happy being able to say that. I plopped myself down onto Michael's bed, getting comfy beneath the blanket. Mychael was gathering some blankets of his own to make a makeshift bed on the floor in front of the fire. He had an impressive collection of knitted items, a comfortable nest forming in the center of the room. My eyes trailed after his tail, now out in the open as it flicked and swayed. Kinda like a cat. I miss puddles. Now with a full stomach, dozing off came easy. I didn't even realize how tired I was. I listened to the gentle crackling of the fire, my vision darkening. Good night, Yandere. I see you're just watching me while I sleep. A soft humming invaded my dreams, stirring me awake. I blinked my eyes open to unfamiliar surroundings, swaddled in a blanket that clearly wasn't mine. Where? I spotted the familiar figure of my host seated on a stool in front of the fire, hands deftly working on the green scarf bundled in his lap. His back was towards me, but I caught a glimpse of his fingers as his needles softly clicked between the yarn. He looked incredibly adept at using them. The rhythmic movements almost hypnotic as the fibers wound together into an intricate pattern. I slowly stirred into a sitting position, rubbing at my eyes. The movement quickly caught his attention, ear flicking in my direction before his eyes trained onto me. The movement quickly caught onto me, just like last night. His pupils blew up as we made eye contact. His expression lit up the instant he saw me. Hey, I'm glad you're finally awake. You look so tired. I didn't want to disturb you until you gotten enough rest. Good morning, Mychael. Good morning, Yandere. Did you sleep well? I was still too groggy to answer his question, a yawn slipping out as I stretched. He smiled kindly, a soft chuckle under his breath. Like a baby then. He pointed over his shoulder to the floor beside the fireplace, tilting his head towards it. You can freshen up in the bathroom if you'd like, while I start on making us some food. I'd have eaten breakfast by now, but I want you to join me while the food was still hot. How do eggs and toast sound? Man, I wish I had eggs. Eggs are so expensive and they're all sold out in Australia at the moment. Sounds delicious. Great. I'll see you in the kitchen then. He tucked away his knitting materials and set them aside. Oh, I also have a surprise for you after breakfast. It's not the most exciting surprise, but, just join me when you're ready. He ducked into the kitchen without another glance. I could hear his boots thud about the floorboards, cabinets opening and closing in succession in the kitchen. I suppose that's my cue. I rolled out of bed, leaving the warmth of Michael's blankets and trotting over to the door Mychael pointed out. Stepping inside, I didn't know what I was expecting when he said he had a bathroom, but it was surprisingly spacious. Everything looked like it was carved and polished out of wood. He seemed to have everything you could find in a modern bathroom. A sink with a cabinet, a shower and a tub, and even a toilet. Well, I sure hope he has a toilet, my god. I'm not gonna dig a hole and then wipe my butt with leaf. Curious, I crept over to the toilet in particular, inspecting it. There wasn't a tank where you'd expect where the water would be stored. Instead, there was a compartment to the side full of sawdust and a scoop. I expected it to have at least a bit of a smell, but it was surprisingly odorless. There was even a roll of toilet paper on the side. It was a no-flushing system, but it was hygienic. Mychael must have done his research. I'll be honest, I'd still be very scared to poop in there. Walking over to the sink, I stared at the faucet before hesitantly twisting it. I jumped when I heard the rush of water pouring in, swirling in the basin before disappearing to who knows where. Well, why am I impressed by a damn functioning bathroom sink? I helped with the dishes last night. I already knew Mychael had plumbing. Shaking my head, I finished freshening up and headed to the kitchen. Mychael looked up as I entered, steaming kettle in his hand with 2 empty mugs on the counter. It might have been the lighting, but he was taller than I remembered. Is this mushroom boy growing? Glancing to the table, I could see you already finished plating up our food. Oh, wow. You work fast. Mychael looked proud of himself. Can't have my guests stay on an empty stomach. Go on, have a seat. I'll join you in a moment. I returned a smile and sat down, stomach grumbling as I looked at our plates. That looks so good. Once again, Mychael was generous with the serving sizes. Fat slices of bread were toasted perfectly with crisp buttered sides, bright red tomato slices, and crisp salad peeking underneath the fluffy eggs. It looked amazingly tantalizing, the smell of savory herbs wafting into my nose. My mouth watered. Mychael set down a steaming mug beside me before settling into his own seat. Peeking above the rim, I could see small flowers floating about, tinting the water yellow. It faintly smelled of apples. I recognized the yellow-dried pellets on tea packaging I've seen before. Oh, chamomile. He nodded, in brackets chamomile. He nodded. I hope you like it. I'm sure I will. His smile widened, his tail swaying at the tip by his feet. He seemed more relaxed, showing his natural features this morning. Any trace of panic and hesitation from last night were gone, replaced by a look of contentment. Mychael bit into his toast and I followed suit. The food was delicious as I expected. The chunk of toast I bit into was heavenly, the butter sweet on my tongue. The tomato and salad provided a crisp balance. And the eggs. Something about simple home-cooked food was really just the best. I'll be honest, tomatoes with like really nice fancy tomatoes with a bit of salt on toast is very, very good. Mychael was happy to eat in silence, occasionally looking up at me as I enjoyed my food. He'd smile when our eyes met, his bottom pair narrowing into a happy squint. I wonder if he'd be open to some questions. Hey, do you mind if I ask, how'd you learn to cook? Cottage pie is a pretty complicated recipe. I just wonder if anyone taught you how to cook. I'd be lucky if someone could teach me how to make boiled eggs, Firefly. But it was trial and error mostly. My earlier endeavors were pretty much inedible. I picked up a thing or two about cooking though, so your taste buds aren't gonna fall victim to any nasty creations like in my early days at least. Speaking of, did you enjoy dinner last night? Of course I did. You're a really good cook, Mychael. I'm glad. It probably wasn't obvious, but I'm really happy I got to cook for you. I don't get guests often in case you didn't tell. I should ask you to cook for me every day then. He grinned at my joke, looking pleased. I'd be happy to. I chuckled as I took another bite. So what's your favorite thing to cook? He lit up at the question. Fried mushrooms. Fried mushrooms? Yeah, there's plenty to find and it's easy to make. Huh, I do remember finding a patch of mushrooms yesterday. They smell pretty funky though. You remember that? What was that? Nothing. Suspicious? Tell me about the weird spory mushrooms in the forest. Did they impregnate me? Anyways, mushrooms were the only thing I had for a while before figuring out I could eat other stuff like roots and veggies. Do you forage all your ingredients? Mostly. The times I figured out how to catch fish and hunt game were the best of my life, I'll tell you that. My first taste of meat. Can I taste your meat? He did an awkward version of a chef's kiss as if mimicking something he saw on TV once. Mamma Mia? Was he trying to say Mamma Mia? He continued before I could even dwell on it for a second longer. But nothing beats what you humans are able to make. You guys go nuts with ingredients. Rice is a challenge. It's a precious ingredient since I have to actually get some from a store. But once I figured out how to make it nice and fluffy, I consider it a special treat. I did a double take. You go to the store? Yeah? Where else would I go and get it? I don't know, I thought you grew it. I thought you would grow it yourself or something. He laughed as I flushed in embarrassment. It takes way too much water to grow rice. It's flattering you think I'm even capable of something that impressive, but no. There's only so much the forest can provide. But what about money? We're talking about human currency, right? How would you even... Do you actually have a job? A thought occurred to me. Or did you steal it? He almost looked offended. Do you take me for a criminal? No, I haven't taken you at all, actually. No. But that would mean then... Now. Mychael bit into his toast, his two eyes winking in mischief. I have my ways, Firefly. What's that supposed to mean? What's it like living in the woods? I still can't believe how cozy you managed to make it, considering the whole middle of nowhere thing. It wasn't like this when I found it. No? It was a major, fixer up her? Fix? Up her? I hardly know her. Haha, shut up, Beauty. So the cabin was abandoned. I never would have guessed. Yeah, I'm really happy I get to live somewhere permanent for once. It's not much, but it's home. And what's it like? Peaceful, quiet. I do like it a lot. The forest provides me with everything I need. And nobody bothers me for the way I look out here. His ears twitched slightly. Sometimes you just happen to end up where it's most convenient for you and everyone else. Aww. The way he avoided my eyes as he said that gave me the impression that there's more to it. Like his home wasn't just out of convenience, but a fear of something else. Rejection, perhaps. Or something worse. Anyways, I don't really have anything else to say about it, unless there's something specific you want to ask. He doesn't think about his answer much before beaming at me. What about you? I know you told me a little bit about yourself, but what's it like being you? I scoffed, waving a hand. Please, I'm the least interesting person in this room, trust me. His eyes were shining in earnest as he leaned forward. Tell me anyway. Oh, well... I told him about my life. At least the parts I was comfortable with sharing. Just like last night, his eyes didn't leave my face, occasionally darting about my features and interest. The direct ogling was making me nervous, but I suppose I was doing the exact same thing when it was his turn to talk. Eventually, I came to the topic of my job and the woes of living in modern capitalism. I am a bit jealous. You have the whole cottagecore aesthetic practically perfect. His face morphed into a confused pout. Cottage core. I explained it to him in my own words. Oh, you're saying you wanna live the way I do out in the woods? I nodded without hesitation. I mean, I wouldn't mind showing you the ropes. His tone seemed strangely tilted. What do you mean? Never mind. Anyways, I don't get what the appeal is, but it's not easy either, you know? The forest provides, but it's up to me to make use of it. Starting out was... A dark look crossed over his face, as if reliving a bit of memory. Rough, but I'm built for survival. I feel like asking him to elaborate would make things awkward. I decide to veer the topic into a different direction. Doesn't it get lonely? Sometimes. But I'm used to it. He smiled, his eyes lighting up. Besides, I have you at the moment, don't I? I never thought I'd enjoy having someone around. You must be really special. How do you have plumbing in your house? I know it's a silly question, but I can't stop thinking about it. Oh, you're wondering about that. The embarrassed look on my face was probably enough of an answer. Oh, well, it's nothing fascinating. It's just rainwater I've got stored above the cabin. Just rainwater. He nodded. I detected a hint of pride as he continued. It's actually a recent installment, believe it or not. Granted, the project took a while. Gathering materials, figuring out the tools, finding the right instruction manuals. Plus, I had to figure out where to store the water tank. And don't worry, I installed a filtration system so it's safe for us to use. I check in every few weeks to make sure nothing's contaminated. I mean, that is very smart, and it is a nice place to stay. That sounded daunting, especially considering he lived all the way out here in the woods. You did all that on your own. I kinda had to. Anyway, it took a lot of calibrating and adjusting, but it really worked out. And now that I think about it, I'm glad you get to be comfortable here during your stay too. Does that answer your question? Yeah, I'm starting to know a lot more about Mychael. He didn't directly say it, but it felt like he was lonelier than he was letting on. Not to mention how he managed to make a home for himself all on his own. I had to wonder if he had anyone at all. Do you have any family around? Family? His expression turned solemn for a moment before he looked sheepish. Remind me how that works again. I get the concept based on some books I've read. I don't know what you call parents if that's what you're asking. My mouth dropped open in shock. No parents. He shrugged and took another bite of toast. Not that I recall. Then how did you... What's that like? Living with so many people like you in such close proximity. That's how it works, right? You and other humans living under one house. And you have this, dinner thing that makes you relate to the rest? That's what makes family, right? Was he talking about DNA? His definition threw me off, but I had to answer somehow. Not just that. Family is people that you love and care about, and people who love and care about you too. He seemed intrigued. Is that so? That does sound nice. Is there anyone that you love and care about? Yeah. Of course, I have a family. I'd even call my cat family. Right. Obviously. And this is the same for all families. I bit my lip, pondering the question. It would be naive to think that. A lot of families do love and take care of one another, but not everything's perfect. Sometimes that love can be misplaced, or taken advantage of, or even abused. Mychael looked thoughtful. So it starts with love. I read some stories about that. Love, I mean. Those certain feelings just don't make sense to me. At least from a reader's perspective. I guess you'd have to experience it for yourself to understand. He stared at me, unblinking for a moment. Yeah, you might be right. I never considered that. And then again, who would bother loving a monster like me, huh? I would. What? You're not a monster. I look like one, don't I? That's beside the point. You're not denying it, though. I'm just saying. It's okay. You don't have to lie to me. I'm not lying. So, family. Right. To be fair, everyone's definition of family could be different. What about you? What's your definition of family? Mychael looked surprised as I asked him that question. I don't know. I never had one. And I think your answer just confused me more. Well, if you ever figure it out, let me know. Mychael stared at the remaining crumbs on his plate before he nodded, avoiding my gaze. Sure, we both felt quiet, the lull in conversation blanketing us in a comfortable silence. All this family talk. It reminded me of the reason why I'm out here in the first place. To look for my beloved cat. A sight I might never be able to see again. I couldn't help the sinking feeling in my chest. The growing pit in my stomach. I wish I was able to find Puddles. You would have loved her. Mychael opened his mouth to say something but changed his mind. My voice wobbled as a lump formed in my throat. Sorry, I just miss her so much. No, I'm sad. Why'd I name her Puddles? I keep thinking if I just went looking for her sooner, maybe I would have been able to find her by now. He was quick to speak up. You did your best, Firefly. No one else could have gone to the lengths that you did. You almost risked getting yourself... I'm sure wherever she is, she's doing okay. You really think so? I know so. His voice was laced with a confident assurance despite the worried look on his face. I nodded with a quiet sniff. I hope so. She's just important to me is all. Oh, now I want to hug Pud. Oh, my poor little Pud. Mychael looked like he wanted to reach across the table for me, but sighed instead. Actually what? Do you know where Puddles is? Puddles, you're clicking my mouse. I'm sorry, Yinny. I should tell you. Maybe I do have family now that I think about it. That was a surprise I mentioned before. Wait, really? I think he's lying to me. I feel like he's lying. He nodded. Are you done? I could take you to go meet them right now. I looked down at my plate. During the conversation, I didn't even realize I finished the meal. Yeah, I'm done. His movements were quick, stacking out empty plates and mugs and setting them in the sink. He grasped my hand before I could say another word and heading outside with me in tow. As the door swung open, I could see the forest ahead before he tugged me along as he rounded the side of the cabin. Almost immediately, my peripherals were assaulted with greens on both sides. I figured he was the type to grow his own vegetables, but to see it in person as confirmation was a whole different thing, with Mychael leading the way. I only had a moment to take in the surrounding garden. He had marked the different plots with messy drawings and small wooden signs jutting out of the dirt. Carrots, lettuce, potatoes, trellises of tomatoes and beans. I wouldn't have been able to differentiate one plant to another without the signs. Even the chamomile from our tea grew abundant close by, the small buds swaying gently. I bumped into Mychael as he suddenly stopped. The man looking over his shoulder to beam at me or reach what looked like a fenced-off area with a bit of netting stretching all around. He stepped aside, watching me as my eyes widened. Chickens, 3 fat, happy little hens, strutted about like they owned the place. As he entered through the gate, the hens swarmed over me at an instant at Mychael's feet, circling him and pecking at his boots. Ladies, meet Yinny. Yinny, these are Mawar, Santhu, and Primrose. Much better named than Puddles. Or as I like to call them, Mama, Sunny, and Rosie. I like to call Puddles Pud-Pud. Or Pud-Fart. He dug to pick one up, fluffing her feathers as he smiled. She is so cute. Puddles, why can't you let me hold you like that, huh? Look at the chicken being held like baby. He gently scratched the little hen's head, which I assume was Rosie. So cute. She practically melted at his pampering, eyes sliding shut. The other two flapped their wings in a huff and went about their business once more. I could make an awful comment about him holding a cup, but the chicken's so cute. Mychael leaned closer, beckoning me to pet Rosie. She was so soft. Rosie's the oldest. She doesn't lay eggs anymore, but I couldn't bring myself to, so I bought her some friends. Aww. Mama came first. Sunny's a more recent addition. What do you think? Do we make a good family? You do. I've had Pud-Pud for about 5 years. I laughed and nodded, watching as Rosie nuzzled into Mychael's chest. I didn't expect chickens of all things. Were you expecting something else? I was expecting it to be someone else. Oh, no. When you look like me, people don't generally stick around. Aww. There's that negative self-talk again. You don't even look that bad. His eyes flicked to mine, a look of pleasant surprise crossing his face. You really think so? Yeah? You can't be that naive, Firefly. Oh, come on. Mychael, I think Carnus from Baldur's Gate 3 is hot AF. I think you're fine. I mean it. He let out a polite scoff as he scratched Rosie's head absently. You genuinely believe people wouldn't run away at the sight of me? Well, I didn't. His smile turned smug, the corner of his lips lifting just a bit. Of course you didn't, because he couldn't. Shoot, he wasn't wrong. I was pretty much paralyzed in his bed when we first met. But I still don't think you look that bad. Is that so? Describe me then. What? You heard me. Look at me and describe what you see. A person with green skin and little mushroom horns? For a second I thought he was being condescending, but looking at his eyes, all I could see was a bit of playfulness. He looked at me expectantly, eyes shining. You're tall? Go on. You have blonde hair. He gave an amused squint, his left ear twitching. What else? You have green skin and the tail? He chuckled, though there was no malice in it. But that's not all, is it? He definitely expected me to say it straight. Oh, fine. So you don't look human. So what? He hummed absently. As I was saying, animals don't generally care if you look like a monster. This is true. Pud-Pud likes me despite however I look. Isn't that right, Pud-Pud? You are so cute. My heart twisted at his words. His passive nonchalance somehow makes it even worse. Mychael, you're not a A tug at my shoelace caught my attention. Oh my god. A light brown hen stood at my feet, her beady eyes shining. Sunny flapped her wing, almost expectantly. Oh, I think she likes you. I like her too. Go ahead, pick her up. Gently, like how I did with Rosie. I hesitated but slowly lowered myself to cup Sunny by her wings. Lifting her up, she was quick to nestle herself until she was comfortably tucked under my arms. Why don't you never nestle yourself? Every time I pick you up, you scream. I could feel her wings wiggling as she nuzzled into my side. So cute. Mychael's gaze softened as I cooed at the chicken, mimicking her small clucks. Did it help? Cheering you up, I mean. Oh, so that's what this was. A fuzzy feeling bloomed in my chest as he looked at me. chicken in his arms and concern on his face. A little bit, yeah. Only a little. I snickered, rolling my eyes. Okay, mister. A lot. That's more like it. His proud grin was infectious. I couldn't help smiling back. We spent a bit more time with the hens, petting them until they were satisfied. Mychael even showed me the spot where they like to have their dust baths. Little chicken-shaped holes scattered about in the dry soil underneath the coop. Once the gals had enough of us, we refilled their water container before leaving. He left them some treats, procuring them straight out of his pockets before shutting the gate. The girls' excited chatter over the food faded as we made our way back inside his cabin. I sat by his bed as he crouched by the fireplace. From the window I could see the sun outside was getting higher. It might be close to afternoon now. Hey, Mychael. He looked up at me from where he was stoking the fire. You can stoke my fire if you know what I mean. I rubbed my arms, unsure where to place my gaze. I think it's a good time for me to go now. I didn't... My expression fell, but I caught myself quickly. He'd done his best to cheer me up. It'll be inconsiderate towards him to leave in a bad mood. I might have to accept that I'll never see Puddles again. No, and she just left me. I think it's better if I focus on moving on. He was quiet for a moment, hands in his pockets. If you say so, but you don't have to leave just yet. We've still got plenty of daylight left, and there's some places I still want to show you. Why don't you come with me? This seems like a trap. I had to decide. My choice! Hey! Give it back! No, I don't think I should... Aw, man! I promise I'll take you home right after. I think you are lying. He took another step towards me. Please, Firefly. I didn't want to say it, but he looked desperate. Okay, I'll go with you. The joy in his face was shining as bright as a billboard. Great, let me get our stuff. He disappeared into the kitchen, returning with my backpack in one hand and a satchel in the other. He passed it to me as he walked by towards the front door. I almost forgot I had this. Rifling through my bag, I found cat treats. Puddles' collar, a broken compass, and... my phone! The battery was dead though. Still, that's one less thing to worry about. I checked through my bag once more, finding an empty water bottle. I frowned, distinctly remembering that I forgot to pack water for my trip. Or at least Mychael told me I did. Didn't I? You ready? I looked up at Mychael, startling when I spotted the large crossbow in his hands. He followed my gaze and shrugged, albeit with a nervous smile, like he'd been caught doing something he shouldn't be. He quickly strapped the weapon to his back and out of sight. Don't worry, I'm not going to use it unless necessary. I would hope not. He chuckled at my indignant tone. You think I'm going to let you out of the woods without guaranteeing your safety? I made a promise to get you home, so this is just an extra precaution. You don't think it's a bit much? Better safe than sorry, Firefly. He did have a point. If anyone knew these woods and the kind of danger it held, it'd be Mychael. I glanced over him again, noticing he changed his oversized cardigan for something more outdoor appropriate. His eyes tracked mine, his shoulders stiffening as a tint spread across his face. So, shall we? He opened the door and waved me out. I stepped outside to glance around his front yard. The landscape wasn't anything special. It was actually left quite plain, just thick with trees and foliage. Only piles of dirt and flattened grass clued me into the routes Mychael would use as he comes and goes, webbing in all directions trailing to the front door. Come to think of it, anyone passing through would be able to spot Mychael's house if they squinted through the trees carefully enough. I guess he was right that nobody walked through this area in years. I heard a locked turn before Mychael joined me by my side. He smiled wide before tipping his head in the direction, making sure I was behind him before he started walking. I was hesitant but followed suit. It was quiet as we traveled, save for the sounds of nature calling out around us. The weather was bright and warm, the sun casting pretty rays through the gaps in the trees. I had to admit it. As enjoyable as it was, the bird calls and rustling of leaves as we walked somewhat brought bad memories. Yesterday was miserable. I was lost, tired and hungry. There was a chance I wasn't going to make it out alive. I watched Mychael's back as he led the way, the man barely paying any mind to his surroundings. His ear would occasionally flick back in my direction, but overall he seemed confident on where to go. Having Mychael as my guide home was definitely a great assurance. It made me even more grateful he found me when he did. I sighed and shook off negative feelings, keeping pace while appreciating the fresh air. I stepped up next to my companion, willing my voice to speak after plenty of silence. This is actually kinda nice. A good old nature walk. I coughed into my fist, feeling embarrassed. I don't go outside as often as I should. Mychael smiled kindly. I'm glad I get to bring you then. Yeah, it feels different when you know where you're going. Actually, where are we going? Wait, we don't know where we're going? He sensed my nervousness and laughed. Don't worry, we're almost there. I'm worried. I looked up and saw it before I even pointed it out. A clearing in the distance. Trees growing strangely sparse in that area. I held my breath as I noticed the grass slowly starting to dot flowers, delicate blooms swaying here and there in the breeze. As we got closer, Mychael watched me as my mouth dropped open, a knowing twinkle in his eyes. It was breathtaking. A secluded meadow of flowers, lit up by beams of light making the scenery resemble a page from a forgotten fairy tale. Butterflies flitted about in pairs, their wings flickering and complementing the surreal yet enchanting ambience of the whole place. Mychael let me gawk some more before walking ahead, turning to face me before sitting down to relax on the grass. He slipped off his satchel and lay down on the grass by his side along with his crossbow. I blinked out of my stupor, approaching him and spinning around to drink everything in before plopping myself down next to him. So, what do you think? Pretty, isn't it? Just like Pud Pud. You're so pretty. I love you so much, my little bum. I nodded dumbly, before finally glancing to face him. The man's gaze on me softening as our eyes met. A butterfly approached us rapidly, making me flinch on instinct. It landed on his finger as he held it out, its wings flapping gently. Sorry, I'll keep patting you. Did you guys see Pud Pud? I stopped patting her and she reached out to my arm. He smiled at the dainty creature, a fond look in his eyes where he held it out towards me. Do you like butterflies, Yinny? I love butterflies. I do. I think they're so pretty. This is amazing, Mychael. His usual prideful smirk was absent, replaced instead with a shy smile. I'm glad you like it. The sun was at its peak now, the air getting warmer as minutes passed. The leafy canopy over us provided enough cover for us not to overheat. Can I help you? You're holding my sleeve. Come on, let go of my arm. Let go of my arm. Puddles. Everybody can see you misbehaving. The leafy canopy over us provided enough cover for us not to overheat. Mychael picked a flower with his other hand and placed it in my palm, his tail looping loosely around us as my cheeks darkened. He closed his eyes and leaned back further, the butterfly still resting on his hand. My ears caught a soft rumbling before I realized it was coming from his direction. Does he purr? I almost wanted to ask, but I didn't want to ruin the moment. My gaze dropped as I tore the flower in my hand, holding the stem delicately. The gesture felt platonic, but also romantic. I wondered if Mychael was even interested in relationships. He'd been alone for most of his life. He'd probably get tired of my presence sooner or later. Somehow I don't think that's gonna happen. Before I could contemplate further, the butterfly on Michael's finger took off, my gaze trailing after it as it left the sunlight and flew away into the woods. Which reminds me, Mychael, don't get me wrong, this place is stunning, but is it okay if we go now? He straightened from his relaxed slouch. Why? We just got here. I chewed on my lip, hesitating. I love it here. I do. But I want to go home, Mychael. Mychael studied my face. Yinny, do you want to leave me that badly? No! I need time to recover from losing Puddles. Puddles, I can't believe I lost you in the game. This is what happens. This is why you shouldn't go outside by yourself. You are unable to defend yourself. You are incapable of doing anything except for sleeping, eating, and screaming at random intervals throughout the day. I know it's silly and dramatic, but knowing she won't be there when I get home, I trailed off. Another shot of guilt and regret filling my chest. I just need to get it done with. I feel a hand rubbing my back. Mychael slowly nodded, looking at me in the eye. His smile is gentle. That's okay. I understand. But maybe this place can help with that. Nah, don't you dare. Don't you dare do your pink static BS on me. It's a nice spot to nap in, isn't it? I picked it out, just for you. Why don't you go ahead and lie down? His words make you sway, a sudden bout of sleepiness weighing heavily over your eyelids. He was right. It is a nice spot to nap in. Why were you in such a hurry? He yawned, laying back to stretch on the grass. The warmth from the ground seeped through your clothes, lulling you into a sense of comfort and safety. There you go. Just spend some time with me. Oh, that is weird. Just a bit more. Please. Oh, here's something I can show you. He reached into his satchel and pulled out a wooden box. It's called a kalimba. I blinked slowly, clarity coming back as I shook my head to pay attention. The box fit neatly in his hands, Mychael holding it as if he were typing on a phone. I could see it had a hole in the middle with thin strips of metal arranged in a triangular shape over it. What does it do? A proud smirk spread across his face. I'll show you. He began to pluck at the metallic prongs, a gentle ringing sound resonating with every flick of his thumbs. I couldn't recognize the song. He might have made it up himself. I closed my eyes, enjoying the tune. Mychael gave a soft chuckle as he kept playing. Relax and listen as long as you like, Firefly. This is pretty nice. A few minutes passed by, with Mychael plucking away on the instrument, the two of us sunbathing like two cats on a Sunday afternoon. I must have dozed as the next thing I knew I felt a strange nudge on my shoulder. Comfy? He chuckled low when I refused to open my eyes. I mean, if you'd rather stay. My eyes shot open, my whole body jerking to sit up. Mychael glanced at me, kalimba in his lap and half a forget-me-not chain in his hands. What? I shook my head, slapping at my cheeks. I can't believe I fell asleep. I still need to... It's alright. He cut me off, his sigh was heavy. I was hoping... Never mind. He patted my shoulder, though his smile didn't reach his eyes. Thanks for being here with me. Maybe we can do this again sometime. if I ever see you again. Let's get you home. He rolled over to his feet and stood up, brushing off dirt and fixing his satchel. Come on. We gathered our things and set off into the unknown once more. Well, unknown to me at least. Mychael seemed to have a map of this place ingrained in his brain. You seem a bit sleepy still, so let's freshen up, okay? We walked a bit further away from the clearing, coming across the river. Compared to the rest of the path we walked, the area was shaded considerably with a thick canopy of leaves over us. The flowing water looked inviting as I kneeled down by the bank, Mychael idling close by. I dipped my hands in, eager to wash my face. The water was refreshing and cooled my heated skin in the afternoon sun. I pulled my hands back to see Mychael peeking over my shoulder into my reflection, smiling with a faraway look on his face. He startled as our gazes met, irises darting away to look at himself instead. Immediately his expression changed. His ears flattened, a grimace twisting his features as his lips curled back. I never seen such contempt in his eyes as I did then, staring at his own visage. He stepped away, retreating underneath the cover of a tree to lean against it with crossed arms. He hasn't noticed me watching. I patted my hands dry on my shirt and approached him. You ready? Yeah. I stopped him before he could turn to leave. He looked at me with a questioning look, tipping his head. I hesitated. I wasn't the type to speak my mind directly. Most of the time, I'd keep things to myself and let things go by. But nobody should look at themselves and have that sort of reaction. Hey, you know, you're not, I might as well be frank. You're not a monster, Mychael. He looked taken aback. What makes you say that? I saw how you were looking at yourself. How you talk about yourself. None of it's true. I keep telling you. You're more than just your appearance. I don't know what compelled me to do it, but I did it anyway. I reached for his hands and held them between us, his eyes widened at the contact. All it took was a day with you, and truthfully, I think you're the most amazing person I've ever met. He made a choked noise. I'm just some old nobody compared to you. That's not... Shut up and listen. Why am I yelling? He probably shut his mouth with an audible click of his teeth. From where I stand, you saved my life. You taking care of me better than I could ever ask for from a stranger. That already proves to me you're not the monster that you think you are. You're charming. You're smart. You're sweet. You're a million more wonderful things, but you are not a monster. I take a second to compose myself, lowering my voice. You may look different, Mychael, but guess what? His multiple eyes stared into mine. He is flattening as if fearing the worst. And that makes you all the more beautiful to me. His breath hitched. I could feel his hands squeezing mine, fingers trembling. It was like he forgot how to breathe. I realized my hands were getting sweaty. I pulled away hastily, scratching at my neck and avoiding his gaze. I could feel the blood rush to my face. I could dunk my whole head in the river and it probably let off steam. Sorry, that came out of nowhere. I just didn't feel right. If I didn't say anything, I hope you understand. An awkward silence passed by between the two of us. Anyways, I caught him mumbling under his breath. I can't let you leave. What? I said, you can't leave. I mean, not without your cat, right? I frowned. I've already tried, Mychael. Like you said, it was stupid for me to wander off in the woods as if I'd find her through dumb luck. He paused, his fist clenching. But I haven't. I haven't tried. I know these woods better than anyone. I could try looking for her, but that means you can't leave yet. Why? Mychael, I appreciate the offer, but I don't think I should stick around any longer. I have a job and responsibilities, and you hissed in pain. A sudden migraine overcoming your senses. You felt sick, your stomach wringing itself into knots. It felt like the world was warping around you as your legs wobbled. Your body buckled over as you resisted the urge to vomit. Mychael caught you as he slumped gracelessly to the ground, your head resting on his shoulder as he cradled you close. Hey, you don't look so good. Your vision doubled as he spoke, his speech oozing together, words into an indecipherable mess. Are you okay? Do you need me to carry you home? Yes, please. Okay, no problem. Just hang in there. Hang on to me. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You don't deserve this. If I could just one more day with you, I'd be the happiest man alive. Here we are. Let's get you tucked in. I should give you some clothes. Especially since you'll be staying another night. You're okay with that? Aren't you? I blinked broccoli awake to the gentle sounds of a cracking fire, the itchy texture, a worn bedsheet, the weight of a heavy knit blanket. I could recall once or twice having felt these sensations to the point I considered them very familiar and comforting. And yet, nothing could prepare me for the bright yellow eyes peering into mine. My knuckles hit him square in the face as Mychael yelped, nose scrunching as the taller man stumbled backwards into a stool. He landed on his rear with the grace of a clumsy toddler on the floor. I sat up in a panic and immediately grimaced, landing back on the bed with an unceremonious flop. It hit me in one fell swoop that my whole body was aching. Every single one of my limbs felt like they'd gone through the ringer and came out the other side all crinkled and wrong. I groaned aloud, leaning my head back on the pillow. Mychael shifted back onto his feet, rubbing his nose. Yandere. His voice was an awkward croak before he cleared his throat. I'm glad you're awake. How are you feeling? Terrible. He visibly flinched. I'm sorry to hear that. He stepped closer to the bed, leaning over warily in case my hand dramatically whips out again in self-defense. When my hand settled on my lap, he deemed it safe enough to sit beside me. What happened, Mychael? You don't remember? I shook my hand, wincing a bit as my head pounded. Not at all. Mychael hesitated. You, tripped and hit your head. I had to carry you home. His words almost slurred together as he fidgeted. My head. I slowly lifted my hand to feel for bumps or bruises, but he hastily snatched my wrist. Don't worry about that. Here, have this. It'll help. Mychael gave me a familiar-looking drink as he quickly pressed a cup into my hands, sitting up with some effort to take a sip. I couldn't help the small sense of déjà vu. The amount of times I woke up in his bed dazed and disoriented is almost uncomfortable now. At least the drink was helping, just like he promised. My body felt lighter as I finished. Mychael took the cup from me and set it aside before wringing his hands together with a nervousness I haven't seen in a while. So, I'm sorry this happened. I didn't mean for you to get hurt. I sighed and waved aside his worry with an embarrassed grumble. Wouldn't be the first time I tripped, if you could believe it. It's not your fault. He gave a soft chuckle, but it sounded guilty. I suppose you're right. It's just... His face looked like he had a million thoughts running through his head. I promised, didn't I? I said I was gonna look out for you. I said I was gonna keep you safe. Instead, I made you hurt. His voice cracked. I'm so sorry. The sudden change in demeanor was startling, to say the least. You couldn't have predicted it was gonna happen. And I'm fine, see? Oh, Firefly. I guess you're right. His expression carried a lingering doubt, but he quickly masked it with a small smile, his eyes dim. In that case, you'll be staying. The way he said it almost sounded like a decision that's already been made. Or a plea. What do you mean? His eyes darted aside. You agreed to let me find puddles, remember? Did I say that? Yeah. So, you'll be staying a while longer, right? He didn't even let me get a word in. In fact, a feeling of uncertainty washed over me, as if we had this conversation before. I don't think I should... Besides, what's the rush? It's already late and you're in no condition to travel anyway. I blinked before glancing out the window. Pitch black darkness greeted me as I realized he was right. Yet another uncanny feeling spread through my chest. Shivers crawling down my spine. I don't know why, but something about this whole situation felt wrong. I feel like I'm forgetting something else. Mychael had a nervous look on his face. Maybe you hit your head harder than you thought. His words didn't sound confident. How long was I out? A couple of hours, I think. You, really took a hit. It was that bad. My brows creased as I tried to recall today's events. But I don't remember tripping. There was a river. I remember you. And then... Your memory must be fuzzy. And for good reason. After all, it's been a rough few days. My stomach rumbled suddenly, echoing in the quiet room. There was a heavy silence right after. Mychael was polite enough to hide his chuckle under a palm as I flushed. He seemed relieved. Well, lucky for you, I've got dinner on the way. It should be ready soon. You're okay with soup, right? Soup? Soup sounds alright. My stomach growled once more, the pain of an empty gut making me wince a bit. My host noticed immediately. Oh, maybe we should get you some food sooner or later. Do you feel okay enough to get up? I nodded with a grumble, swinging my legs over the side of the bed before noticing something was on my lap. Wait, what's this? I unbundled the thick pile of fabric, realizing it was an oversized sweater with a pair of baggy sweatpants. A mushroom pattern. That's oddly cute. The material felt worn but comfortable. A towel laid right next to them. Is this for me? I figured since you'll be staying another night, you want some fresh clothes. There might be a few sizes bigger. Or a lot. Sorry, he gotten shy for some reason. On the other hand, I didn't have to take a whiff of myself to know that I probably read. I nodded again, giving him a small but grateful smile. They're fine, Mychael. Thank you. Yet another thing I had to owe him. I couldn't help feeling like I'm taking advantage of his kindness now. So, you know where the bathroom is? Take your time cleaning up. I'll be in the kitchen if you need anything. I'm really happy you're here. Yeah, I bet you are. He stood there for a good few seconds, fidgeting with his hands as if he wanted to say more before finally heading to the kitchen. I watched his back retreat before hoisting myself up and heading to the bathroom. Now that I was alone, I had a moment to gather my thoughts. The nagging feeling was back, a prickling feeling across my skin, raising goosebumps as if to tell me I shouldn't be here. I just couldn't place my finger on what. I should be careful. I just couldn't shake the feeling that Mychael was hiding something. He'd been a gracious host so far, but that didn't make him the most trustworthy either. There's definitely something I'm missing. My mind was wandering even as I undressed and stepped under the shower. The icy chill of the water did nothing to distract me from my nerves. If anything, it elevated it. I was a shivering mess by the time I was done cleaning myself with whatever soap he had lying around. Once I dried myself, I inspected the clothes inside and out to see if there's anything off with them. They smelled like wet grass and burnt wood, considering his lifestyle. It made sense for his clothes to have that sort of scent stuck to them, I suppose. Putting them on, it reminded me just how big and tall Mychael was, compared to me at least. I fidgeted and fiddled with the sleeves and waistband, until I could somewhat move comfortably. There's no mirror in his bathroom, so I had to assume that I looked like a walking potato sack. Better than nothing. Gathering my courage, I shook out my hands and straightened myself before exiting towards the kitchen. A savory scent filled my nose. Mychael did mention dinner was almost done. As I entered, I saw Mychael by the stove, idly stirring something crimson in a pot and humming quietly to himself. His content smile widened as he saw me, his eyes flicking. I tried not to look uneasy as he looked me up and down. How do they fit? They're alright, much too big for me. He nodded, turning back to the pot. I can see that. Right. His smile faltered as he picked up the wariness in my tone. Is everything alright? His eyes held a sense of worry, his shoulders tensing. I can get you something else to wear if you like. There's no need. He paused, hand gripping onto the ladle tightly as he continued to hesitate. There's another pause before his brows furrowed. I'm not an idiot. You don't trust me, do you? I flinched. Mychael looked hurt as he sighed. So I'm right. His eyes flicked by the side of his head as he turned back towards the stove. Can I just know why? His eyes were sad as he stared at the pot, as if he had been in this situation before. I thought I did everything right. Truthfully, I didn't expect such a direct confrontation. There's a lump in my throat as my fist clenched at my sides. It's just... The kettle started whistling, but he was clearly ignoring it. I swallowed down my growing anxiety and decided to be upfront. I just didn't expect to be here again. It felt like the wrong thing to say when Mychael's frown deepened. So you never wanted to be here? I didn't mean it like that. Then how else could you possibly mean it? Another deep sigh slipped out of him as he reached to lift the kettle off the stove, mumbling to himself. I was hoping you'd be different. What was I thinking? What did you say? Nothing. Mychael, His full-on expression made the words stick on my tongue, forcing me to reluctantly swallow them back down. Any trace of suspicion I had faded and was replaced by a feeling of guilt. I'm sorry. I just thought I'd be home by now. I know. I'm sorry too. Don't do that pink fart again. He lifted his gaze towards me, eyes full of regret. But is it really so bad, Yandere? I know being lost in the woods with a man you don't know can be scary. But I promise you're safe. The last thing I'd ever want you to do is be scared. He trailed off. So just trust me, okay? Can you do that? Please. I swallowed and gave him a nod. My gut still roiled with suspicion. Every fiber of my being wary of him to a certain extent. He seemed satisfied enough though, eager to move on past the tension. Thank you. His mouth quivered at the edges, all four of his eyes squinting with the slightest bit of hope. Please let it be different for once. Why don't you take a seat, Firefly? I'll be right with you. He was already turning his back towards me to start preparing the tea. I slowly approached him. Hey, let me help this time. Mychael startled, surprised to see me beside him. Oh, sure. Could you get some bowls ready? We're having tomato soup. Oh, do you want some grilled cheese with yours or would you prefer garlic bread? Garlic bread, please. Got it. I brushed past him, feeling his tail linger by my ankle as I grabbed the bowls and spoons from the bottom shelf. He started preparing the sides. The smell of toasted bread filling the kitchen and mingling with the soups. I took over preparing the tea. Finally, I ladled the soup from the pot into a larger bowl just as Mychael finished, flipping the last piece. We settled in for a nice hot dinner. That looked so good. Regardless of how I felt about tomato soup, Mychael's turned out rich and creamy with an amazing balance of sour and sweet. The fragrant garlic bread added the perfect texture to the meal, practically melting in my mouth with every bite. The simple combination of bread slices, toasted with buttery garlic spread dipped in fancy ketchup, had no business being this good. There's still a feeling of stilted awkwardness, but the food helped ease us both into a warmer, light-hearted conversation. I didn't realize how hungry I was until I refilled my bowl. Mychael watching me with his chin propped in his hand. His own body sat empty. Apparently, he'd already had his fill. Is tomato soup your favorite? His question was innocent, though his eyes were observing me carefully as I shrugged. I think I'd love anything you'd cook. He stilled, taking a second to process what I had said. Oh, thank you. No, thank you. Usually I get takeout or microwave dinners. Nothing beats home-cooked food. What's a microwave? I snickered and tried to explain it the best I can. A metal box that heats up food. That sounds like, what's the word in those fantasy books? Magic? Am I using that word right? I laughed lightly. Sometimes science is just like that. We talked about other kitchen appliances off the top of my head, slowly branching out to other human inventions. He seemed even more interested. I never understood how, technology worked. I pulled out my phone and let him fiddle with it. But with the battery dead, there's not much I could show. He was clearly disappointed.
It's about as useful as a brick.
For now, otherwise I'd have a whole network of information in my hands. His eyes lit up.
Like a library. And you can access it any time as long as the battery is alive?
As long as I have internet connection.
Right, internet. I didn't know you could do that. I just see people staring at them all the time. It seemed boring.
He looked at my phone again, a look of wonder on his face.
Having a whole library in your hands.
Everyone must be really smart then. Haha, you think so? Well, not everyone uses it like a library. More like a messaging hub. Or a source of content consumption. His ears flicked as he stared at me with a blank smile.
Consumption? You can eat it.
Yeah, he has no clue what I'm talking about. How do I explain it to him? The very concept of Web 2.0. I clear my throat, deciding that I simply won't. Maybe I can show you what I mean someday. His eyes brightened, seeming to like that idea a lot.
You mean that? I can have some.
Yeah. I think it's about time you start getting a little more modern around here, no offense. Imagine what you could do with a generator. His smile widened just a tad, though there's still a cluelessness to his face that was just a little endearing.
Generator?
I laughed and reached across to pat his hand, a gesture that made his smile wobble. Like I said, I'll show you someday. A loud thwack sounded against the floorboards, followed by rhythmic thudding. Leaning over, I could see the tip of his tail was wagging back and forth, the tip of it slapping against the floor almost comically. Mychael looked flustered as he laughed softly, pulling his hand back to rub his neck.
Sorry.
He looked like he had more to say, but he exhaled heavily, gathering himself before tilting his chin towards my empty bowl.
Are you done?
I nodded as he stood and collected our dirty dishes, heading towards the sink to wash them. I followed close behind, carrying the mugs. We made quick work of the dishes, heading back to the living room to relax. Mychael headed to the basket of knitting materials, his movements routine. I wasn't sure what to do with myself. Now that food was no longer a distraction, I felt uneasy again, glancing around the room and staring out the window. Mychael was eyeing me as he grabbed the stool and dragged it off to the center of the room.
Is there something outside?
The question sounded innocent, but it had a sense of wariness towards it. I shook my head quickly. Nothing. It was just... Something catches my eye from under the bed, glinting like a knife. Tilting my head lower, I could see it was a tin container the size of a shoebox. What's that?
Mychael looked up.
Under your bed.
A panicked look came across his face. That thing. Just some emergency supplies. Yeah, nothing too special.
I had an inkling he was being dishonest again. But I figured I'd leave it for another day. I see. Mychael watched me for a moment or two before clearing his throat.
Hey, Firefly, I've been meaning to ask. Do you remember what you said at the river?
The river? Oh, where I tripped. I pursed my lips and thought. Not really. Everything feels fuzzy to me. He seemed disappointed.
Oh, not even a little.
I shook my head. Why? Did I say something stupid?
Just some things. It made me happy.
Oh god, I think I did say something stupid. Before I could ask about it, he already gestured towards the bed.
Well, you should get some sleep, Firefly. Want to wake up nice and early to find Puddles, right?
The idea of looking for my cat once more made me wilt. You really think we'll find her?
Mychael looked on edge, pocketing his hands. It doesn't hurt to try.
But it does hurt to hope. His face twitched.
Well,
His ears flattened as he thought of something to say, clearly struggling. He finally opened his mouth to respond, his words slow and careful.
I'm here for you.
Thank you, Mychael. He nodded, a strange mix of polite happiness and hidden anxiety playing across his face. He's probably not used to another person sticking around this long, let alone someone going through a loss he could care less about. Maybe I've been enough of a burden to him. Actually, can you just send me home? His brows raised, posture straightening in surprise.
Are you sure? What about Puddles? Don't you want to see if we can find her?
You know Puddles is gone. I'm sure. A look of apprehension crossed his face.
But it's so soon. Puddles could be out there. We can still try to...
Mychael, please. I can't think about her right now. I just want to go home. He fidgeted with the sleeves of his cardigan.
But...
He looked like he had so much more to say, but whatever turmoil going on in his head was quickly swept behind a reassuring smile.
Okay, get some sleep, Firefly. You've been through a lot.
He went to collect his blankets again, already arranging them into a nest like the night before. The words left my mouth before I could think twice. I can trust you, right? A flicker of surprise crossed Mychael's face.
Of course you can trust me.
He didn't say anything else, as if that one line should be enough to convince me. And honestly, it was too late to start an interrogation that's only going to end up in me feeling guilty for upsetting him. I got under the covers, facing the walls with my back towards him. I could hear him setting up in the nest behind me before finally quieting down with a satisfied hum. I closed my eyes. The last thing I heard was a gentle cracking of the fireplace, accompanied by Mychael's knitting needles clicking away in the dark. Oh Right, and I think we will end part 1 right there. This is really interesting. I love the art so much. I really like the backgrounds and how it blends together. And I love how it looks like a cozy, nice game. Except as you play, it definitely is not cozy and nice. Also, the food illustrations were so good. Every single time I saw it, I was like, man, this makes me so hungry. But thank you so much for hanging out, everybody. I hope you guys liked this one as much as I did. I really can't wait to see how Mychael escalates his behavior, because I'm told that this one is quite slow burn. So I'm keen to see what happens in days 3 and 4 and how he actually behaves, because I think that is going to be very, very interesting. I do have major regrets naming my cat Puddles though, because every time we talk about Puddles, I think of my little Puddles here and I just get sad. But thank you so much again for coming on this adventure with me. If you did like this video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next video. And also, if you want to hang out outside of these videos, I stream on Twitch 3 times a week. Feel free to come over and hang out with me in the community. And additionally, if you would like exclusive playthroughs and extra content, such as the spicy stuff, feel free to join my Patreon. Link is in the comments below. But thank you so much again, and until next time, take care.